Smith-Barrett here, and it's our first of our fraction lessons. So without further ado, let me start from the beginning. Unit 4, fractions. Okay, over the next week or two, we will be covering the following in our fractions unit. Simplifying fractions, which is today and tomorrow's focus. Comparing and ordering fractions, adding and subtracting, including mixed numbers, and solving problems involving adding and subtracting fractions. So that's applying our knowledge of fluency to solving word problems. There may be different ways of representations, your classic numerator and denominator, but this may also be represented in other ways. And in the bottom corner here, okay, it's about using diagrams or the bar diagrams to represent fractions. Also, there'll be plenty of vocabulary included over the next couple of weeks. Numerator, denominator, common denominator, common factor, equivalent, simplify, simplest form factor, highest common factor, lowest common multiple, also abbreviated to LCM, compare, order, ascending, descending, proper fraction, improper fraction, mixed number, convert, lowest common denominator, and equivalent. And finally, we also need to be able to find where a fraction is on a number line. So there's a brief summary of what the next fraction unit has in store. Let's get to today's lesson. So what are we learning to do? Well, we're simplifying fractions today in our first lesson. What am I looking for? Well, I'd like you to be able to identify the numerator, identify the denominator. You're probably already thinking, yeah, I'm good with that. And then find a common factor. The vocabulary that we'll be focusing on: fraction, numerator, denominator, simplify, factor, common factor, and equivalent. So let's get started. Okay, step one. First thing you need to do when you're presented with a potential maths problem is to read all the information given to you. So we don't know what the mathematics involved at the moment might be, but we do know that we've got Lee and Bella. Looks like they're playing something online, a computer game. It involves animals and it involves potentially herding them into a kind of pen, which is a fenced off area. We've got sheep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we've got 12 sheep. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cows, and we've got 2 herders here. So, this is interesting. Apparently, according to Bella, the score is 2 out of 4. So it looks to me that there are 2 grey cows out of a possible 1, 2, 3, 4. So I guess we can anticipate this fraction question has got to be something to do with the number of cows in that pen. And this pizza-like thing, well, that may be a clock. Anyway, so let's have a look. Yes. Bella seems to get 2 cows in the pen before her time on the clock runs out. So the question, I guess, will be, what's Bella's score as a fraction? But then it takes it to another level in its simplest form. Well, I know so far that 2 out of potential 4 cows here have gotten into the pen. So with that in mind, the fraction, according to the advice, step 2, 2 out of 4. And as a fraction, that can be represented on a diagram with 2 equal parts out of a possible 4 equal parts. Numerator 2, denominator 4. 2 quarters. But the question said, how would you simplify 2 quarters into its simplest form? Well, I know that 2 quarters here, the yellow parts represented on the bar diagram, is the equivalent to a half of the whole shape. So therefore, I would say 2 quarters can be simplified to 1 out of 2. Bella's score is the same as a half. Now, the advice given to find a fraction's simplest form, in other words, to simplify a fraction, we need to divide the numerator and the denominator by a common factor. And in the case of Bella, she had the common factor of 2 because the numerator and denominator are both divisible by 2. So the common factor is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, numerator. 4 divided by 2 is 2, denominator. So Bella's score is indeed a half, 1 out of 2. So step 3, how about Lee? What do we know about this player? Well, so far we don't know if he's got any animals in the pen, but I guess we can concentrate on the sheep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 sheep altogether. So whatever the question might be, it looks like the denominator is 12. Let's have a look. So Lee gets 9 out of 12 sheep in the pen. So what is his score? And again, it's asking, can you give your answer as a fraction in its simplest form? Have a little think. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, so 9 out of 12 sheep get into the pen. Let's look at that as a diagram. Here, 9 is our numerator, 12 is the total number of sheep that he could possibly get in the pen. Now, as a diagram, we have got 12 equal parts. 1 12th, 2 12ths, 3 12ths, 4 12ths, 5 12ths, 6 12ths, 7 12ths, 8 12ths, 9 12ths, 10 12ths, 11 12ths, and 12 12ths, or 1 whole. But as is represented on this diagram, it looks to me that there are 9 of those 12ths that have been populated, filled in, coloured in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of a potential at 10, 11, 12 12ths. So 9 12ths, the question is asking, what is that in its simplest form? Let's have a look. Yes, we need to find a common factor. So we can divide the numerator and the denominator both by 3, because 3 is a common factor of 9 and 12. So 9 divided by the common factor of 3 gives me a new numerator in its simplest form of 3. 12 divided by a common factor of 3 gives me a new denominator of 4. So it looks to me that the common factor of 3 has given 9 12ths as its simplest form as 3 out of 4 or 3/4. Here, the equivalent. So 9 12ths is equivalent to 3/4 when we find a common factor of 3 to reduce 9 12ths to its simplest form. Okay, think together. Bella and Lee play some more rounds of the game. What scores do they get? Well, look at the diagrams to help you to simplify the fractions. Here we go. Bella gets 4 out of 6 sheep in the pen. 4 out of 6. If you need to pause the video now, please do so. What would be the numerator where there's a common factor of 2 to simplify 4/6? Okay, so let's have a look. If you were to divide 4 by the common factor of 2, the numerator will be 2. 6 has already been divided by a common factor of 2, so the denominator is 3. So therefore, 4/6 simplified is equivalent to, has the same value as 2/3. Try this one. This time, Lee gets 5 out of 10 cows into a pen. 5 out of a possible 10. So the 5, the numerator is represented here. The denominator is represented by the whole diagram. So you've got to think about what's the common factor. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, so ask yourself, 5 and 10 have a common factor of what? Well, you've been given a little clue here. So what you do to the bottom with factors, you do to the top with fractions. So if you've got a denominator to simplify by a common factor of 5, 10 divided by 5, okay, you do the same to the top. So the common factor for the numerator's got to be 5 as well. So 5 divided by 5, everybody, 1. 10 divided by 5, 2. So it looks to me like 5/10 is the same as a half. Let's have a look on the diagram. We've got 1 equal part out of a possible 2 equal parts. And if you look at the bars, of course, they are exactly the same size, showing that 5/10 is equivalent to 1 out of 2 or a half. Try this one. Bella gets 9 out of 15 geese in the pen. And we have our representation here. Out of a possible 15 equal parts, each part worth 1/15. There's 9 represented by the 9 geese that she gets successfully into the pen. Pause the video, have a little think about what are the common factors of 9 and 15, and therefore, by dividing the common factors, what would be the simplified version of 9/15? And how might you represent it on the diagram below? Okay, pause the video. So hopefully you've had a go at thinking about the common factors. Well, I know that 2 doesn't divide into 9 nor 15 because 2 is an even number, and of course these are odd numbers, so it can't be a factor. How about 3? Ah, yeah, 3 goes into 9. Yeah, there's nothing left over, so that's a factor. And I know 3 goes into 15, so it's got to be 3. Let's have a look. Yeah, 9 divided by 3 gives me a new numerator of 3. 15 divided by 3, so the common factor is definitely 3, will give me 5. Ah, so 9/15 is the same as 3/5. And represented on a diagram here. Ah, so that's 1/5. Same as 3/15. That's 2/5. That's the same as 6/15. 3/5, which is the same as 9/15. So 9/15 is equivalent to 3/5. Yes. How about your turn? Have a go at simplifying these fractions. Pause the video and then unpause it, and we'll have a look at some answers. So, A, 6/8. Got to think about what's the common factor. Well, both are even numbers. So how about 2? Let's have a look. Ah, yeah. 6 divides by 2, so that gives me a new numerator of 3. And what you do to the top, you do to the bottom. Absolutely. The common factor is 2, so 8 divided by 2 gives me the denominator of 4. 6/8 is the equivalent to the equal value to 3/4. With B, let's have a look. The common factor will be 10. 10 divided by 10 gives me 1. 100 divided by 10 gives me 10. So 10 hundredths is the equivalent to 1/10, a tenth. And what about C? 7/7. Oh, that's interesting. Well, I think the only common factor there is 1. Oh, okay. 7 is the common factor, I beg your pardon. So if you divide 7 by 7, it gives you 1. If you divide the denominator by 7, absolutely, it gives you 1, which is the equivalent to 1 whole. So 7/7. It's like getting 7 geese out of a possible 7 geese in the pen. The whole number of geese successfully entered the pen, 1 whole. Okay, are you ready? It's your turn now to have a go at the work from the textbook in lesson 1. So let's go to the next slide and have a look. What I'd suggest that you do for the next slide is keep this slide up and work your way through each of the questions asking you to fill in the missing common factors or the simplified fraction. And then record any of your answers into your yellow homework book and then complete the reflect. Now, if you fancy a little bit more of a challenge, here's the challenge. Question 3A, finding your knowledge of equivalent fractions to find missing numbers. Okay, and then there's some more challenges about adding numerators and denominators to find the simplified form. Okay, so that's lesson 1, 10th of November, complete. So it's your turn now to have a go, answering the questions, pop them into your yellow homework books, take a photograph and upload it to me on Class Dojo. All right, you know where I am. Do send me a message. Any questions? I'm available all day. Okay, take care.